Good morning, everyone. My name is Gina Wither, and I get to introduce the 9th and 10th graders this morning. Ann Sullivan is the director of our Cultural Studies program, but she has her hands full. Let's see. Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you today as we celebrate the incredible journey of our 9th and 10th grade students who recently returned from a month-long adventure in Ecuador and Chile through our Global Studies program. At Steamboat Mountain School, we believe that learning should be bold, immersive, and transformative. Our mission is to cultivate the intellect and imagination of these young minds so that our students grow their curiosity, discover their potential, contribute meaningfully to their community, and engage in a dynamic global society. This trip was a living example of that mission in action. For 4 weeks, our students stepped out of their comfort zones and into vibrant cultures, remote landscapes, and unfamiliar challenges. Whether they were navigating through language barriers, participating in community service, hiking through a glacial valley in Patagonia, or learning from local leaders and families, they were tested in ways a classroom can't replicate. And they rose to meet those challenges with courage, curiosity, and compassion. These young travelers didn't just visit Ecuador and Chile, they immersed themselves. They asked deep questions, built relationships, and gained perspectives that will stay with them for a lifetime. Their growth was real, visible, and inspiring. Today, we honor not only the places they went, but the people they became along the way. The 11th and 12th graders will present on their travels to Indonesia and India on Friday, May 30th at CMC at 6 or 6:30. 6. Be there at 6 for a great seat. And without further ado, here's our 9th grade class who traveled to Ecuador.
Thank you, Gina. Hi, everyone. I am Andrea, and this is Cass. And we had the privilege of leading the 9th grade class on their global studies trip to Ecuador. As we hear from each of our students today, we are excited for you all to find out more about what they experienced and learned from overcoming language barriers to learning the value of service and building cross-cultural connections. It's hard to believe how much we actually did in a month. Ecuador is a tremendously diverse country, and we were fortunate to spend time in both the Andes Mountains and the Amazon rainforest, exploring natural and cultural richness of the region.
We started our journey with 3 beautiful and challenging days of hiking in the Quilatoa volcano crater. As we conquered the uphill climbs and took in views of the Andes, chatting with our local guides and with each other, it really started to hit everyone that we were in South America. We continued our trip with several days of service learning in the high-altitude Andean community of Morrochos, where everyone worked together to raise a herd of 100 alpacas. I loved seeing all of my students put their Spanish skills into practice, and I was really blown away by how well they were able to communicate with their host families and other community members.
We did not have time to get too comfortable there, though, because after an exciting day of souvenir shopping at the Otavalo market, we were off to the Amazon rainforest. We spent several days at the Sandy Lodge, an amazing project operated by the local indigenous community, where we got to see so many birds, bugs, and plant species. Everyone was enthralled by the biodiversity that we saw, and we had a few budding tropical ecologists among us. As sad as the group was to leave the rainforest, everyone was quickly enchanted by the community of Yungia, where we spent a week in homestays, living and learning with the community. The cooperative economic model of the community opened our eyes to new perspectives and ways of living. It was hard to leave at the end of the week, and we will never forget our families who welcomed us into their homes with open arms and hearts.
We ended our trip with a few days in Quito, reflecting on everything that we had seen and learned in Ecuador. What stays with us, and we hope with all of our ninth graders, is the gratitude that we feel for the journey. As we return to our daily lives here in Steamboat, we are grateful for the many opportunities for growth, the personal connections and friendships, and the many beautiful experiences that we encountered in Ecuador. We have no doubt that the lessons learned and connections formed during our global studies trip will stay with our students for years to come. As our host Sayungia said, Ecuador is a part of us all now.
Hi, I'm Henry Crum. The landscapes in Ecuador are very different from those in the USA. Ecuador has the Andes Mountains, the Amazon rainforest, all packed into one small area. The US has a wider variety of large-scale landscapes, like vast deserts, huge plains, massive mountain ranges, and long coastlines. Ecuador's small size means one can go from jungle to mountains to beach all in one day, while the US's landscapes are more spread out. This change in scenery made me think about how our experience has broadened our perspective on how much variety the world has that we don't see in our everyday lives. A week spent in the Amazon made me feel as if I were in an alternate universe. The lush scenery, the humid atmosphere, the immense green foliage, and the wide variety of animals surrounding us opened our eyes to a new world. The cloud forest was also a different world from ours, in Steamboat Springs. The cloud forest was dense, misty, and full of light. Birds called out from deep in the trees, and colorful plants seemed to grow from every direction. It felt like stepping into another world. Another unique landscape that we saw were the volcanoes. Chile, one of Ecuador's most famous volcanoes, offers a magical view of a stunning crater lake. The volcano is dormant, and we were fortunate enough to be allowed to hike from the nearby village up to the rim of the volcano. This experience really opened our eyes to the wonders of the world that we don't see in our everyday lives. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Gavin. Service is one of the most powerful ways to truly understand a community. You learn about its needs, lifestyle, and people, but service also helps you understand the kind of person you are. The work we did taught us a lot about each other and ourselves. Together we learned that we can do hard things. And by hard things, I mean shoveling poop for over 3 hours. We were serving a community and doing dirty work we may not have liked in the moment, but looking back, those 3 hours showed me that going through difficult things together unites us. We also taught young Ecuadorian kids English and Yukia. For the whole trip, my goal was to learn about another culture, but it comes full circle when the same people whom you're eating dinner with, farming together, you also teach their kids your language and culture. The fulfillment of service is something I can't quite describe to you. The look on a little girl's face when she says the right word in English, the hard work you save others from the community from doing, and the gratefulness that you receive from what you may think is a small action. At certain times, we may have thought what we were doing was unimportant or a waste of time, but what we did for the community was so impactful on a deeper level than just doing the work. I connected with my community through service. I learned about the culture through service. I learned about myself through service. When I look back on the trip, I don't think of the food or the hikes or the hot springs we went to. I think of the service we did together and what it meant to each of us. Service is one of the most powerful ways to understand a community, but it is also an amazing way just to learn a little more about yourself and picture who you want to be. Thank you, guys.
Hi, I'm Zach Morgan, and on our trip I became great friends with them, but I especially bonded with the guys. I knew I was going to get along with them, but I didn't expect to come this close. Within the first 3 nights, all the guys started to bond. We stayed in a hotel called Mother Hilda's, where we all shared one room. As you can imagine, it got chaotic. At first, we were pretty quiet, just cracking jokes on our usual friend groups. That quickly changed. We started really connecting, doing dumb stuff together and laughing constantly. One of the dumbest and funniest things we did is what we now call the squash hill. We were walking to a steep hill and came across a bunch of half-rolled squashes. Naturally, we started rolling them down the hill. I didn't have the best view, but I'll never forget seeing Mitchell jump toward the squash, trying to get it between his legs, then seeing Gavin and the Henrys cheer as the squash flew between his legs. After that, I could hear Soren and Levi cried, cheering as the squash exploded against a fence. Luckily, Mitchell wasn't dead from the squash killing him. Was this dumb? Yes. Was this memorable? Absolutely. Before the trip, I mostly stuck with Mitchell and the Henrys, and occasionally talked to the other guys. During this trip, I realized something. I can't just hide out in the tech lab. These are people I'm going to spend the rest of high school with. And if I don't try, I'll miss out on some great memories. That's what I'm taking from this experience. The only thing holding me back from making friends was myself.
Hi everyone, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sophia Rose. Some of my peers are amazing hikers. I, however, am not. But just 3 days into our trip, after already struggling, I realized the main thing holding me back wasn't the trail, it was my mindset. Our first big hike was obviously on day 3, and B and I were all the way in the back, joking about wanting Manuel, our bus driver on the trip, to come rescue us. When it started raining near Mama Hilda's, the place we were staying that night, we tried to stop again, but our guide Raina encouraged us to keep moving. She said it's easier when you go at a steady pace without stopping. So the next day I tried it. We hiked the Kilatoa Loop, and I stuck with our guide and mentor the whole time. We talked about his kids, his life, and just like that, the hike felt way easier and even fun. I barely thought about how hard it was. That's when I realized something big. Doing hard things gets even harder when you're stuck in a negative mindset. But when you stay present and do your best, it gets better. You don't have to be the best version of yourself every day, but just be the best that you can that day.
Hi, I'm Zora. Have you ever entered a world so profoundly different from your own that it reshapes how you see? That's what happened to me in the Amazon rainforest, where I spent time with the Sani indigenous community, people who don't just live in the forest, but live in deep harmony with it. We spent time with the Sani indigenous community nestled deep within the Amazon. What struck me most wasn't just the presence, it was in the forest, it was the relationship with it. They don't simply live in the forest, they rely on it. Every rustle in the leaves, every bird call, every plant has a purpose, a story. Nothing is wasted, nothing is overlooked. I remember as we approached their village, the school day was ending, but instead of the familiar rumble of the school bus, I saw school children going home in long canoes gliding across the Napa River. The meal we ate with the people used only ingredients from the natural world. Instead of tinfoil, we used palm leaf. Instead of the canned ingredient, we used fresh heart of palm, harvested right from your community farm. And instead of store-bought fish, we ate tilapia caught straight from the Napa. I also learned there are still uncontacted groups deeper within the rainforest. People have chosen to remain completely outside the modern world. That made me really reflect on how different things of life can be and how much we still have to learn. Ultimately, my time in the Amazon was a powerful reminder that there is so much wisdom in the rich culture of the indigenous community. Wisdom rooted in respect, tradition, and deep connection to the land. Perhaps it's time we not only paid attention, but truly started listening. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Tora MacDonald. Do you like to try new things? Maybe or maybe not. Today, my stories of Ecuador will hopefully encourage some of you to be adventurous and try new things. When my homestay family taught me and some friends Cuarenta, it was super fun. We spent nights by the fire laughing and yelling, "Caída!" which I always managed to say wrong or at the wrong time. I really bonded with my homestay family during this. Sometimes opportunity presents itself, so it is easy to say yes to. Or sometimes it's a little strange, like the guinea pig our homestay family fed us for dinner. But Henry Crump, Henry Patton, Greta, and I tried something on a different level. It is called chantapuri. For those of you who have not had the pleasure of eating it, it is a live grub. As we stared down into the bowl of live grubs, we all felt squeamish. When I picked one up, it was so difficult to hold because it was pulsing and folding like a My stomach dropped as I realized what I signed up for. I stared at the gross grub and squeezed a lime on it. At that point, I just accepted it. I took a deep 3, 2, 1, I lifted up the grub to my mouth and bit off the head.
Yeah, you were trying.
Hi, I'm Grace Thomas. After spending time in the Amazon, we visited a small cloud forest town called Ninja. It's a beautiful place tucked in the mountains, and it felt like we had stepped into a completely different world. One of the coolest parts was going to the butterfly gardens. There were butterflies everywhere. Bright blues, soft yellows, and so many different colors and kinds I'd never seen before. We wandered through the gardens trying to get them to land on us, and I was really good at getting them to land on my face. After that, we drove up a bumpy road to this tiny cable car station that crossed a huge valley. The cable car was basically a metal box on a wire. We rode across in small groups, and every time someone went, there was a mix of screaming and laughing. You could see all the way down the green mountainside, and the wind made everything feel super alive. Once everyone was safely back on solid ground, we started our hike to the waterfall. The trail was muddy, and we were wet from the mist in the air. When we finally got to the waterfall, the water was painfully cold, but we all decided to get in anyway. We slipped on rocks, shivered like crazy, and just kept laughing through it all. It didn't matter that we were soaked or freezing or had no feeling in our toes. We were just completely in the moment. Nobody worried about how they looked or what time it was. We were just having fun together. That day in Nindo wasn't just another stop on the trip. It was one of those rare moments where everything kind of clicked. People who didn't normally talk were laughing together, and there was this feeling of shared adventure. It felt like something we'd all remembered, not just because of the butterflies or the freezing water, but because of the way we all showed up for the experience. We left Nindo with wet clothes, sore legs, and some slightly overpriced butterfly merchandise. But if I'm being real, I wouldn't change it for anything. I was so glad I decided to come on GS, even if the road was a little tough and the water was a little cold. Thank you.
Hello all, my name is Henry Patton, and today I'm here to tell you a story, my story of one fun night in Ecuador. Our guides had called all the guys out onto the patio to play a card game called Cuarenta, meaning 40 in Spanish. Everyone was excited as we started playing, especially since they had chocolates for us. Our guides dealt each other some cards, and then they both started playing until I asked a question about what was going on. One of our guides, George, then replied in Spanish, "Nosotros solo hablamos y jugamos en español." We don't understand Spanish. This means we only speak and play in Spanish. I didn't understand Spanish very well, and no one else in our group understood it very well either. Every time our guides did something we didn't understand, we'd reach into the back of our brains to find the words to ask a question, and by the time we asked it, the 3 rounds had already been played. We found a solution. When I didn't hear something, I could ask one of my classmates, and if they heard it, they would explain it to me. By communicating, we were all able to learn the card game, even though it was fast-paced, and there was a language barrier between us and our teachers. This experience may seem like something small, but I think that this moment captures the essence of our trip perfectly. We encountered the challenge of not speaking Spanish while having to learn an entirely new card game. In spite of this challenge, we were able to overcome it by combining our skill sets and working together to find a solution to our problem. That is why I like our GS experience. Even if the experience was challenging at times, I found solace in the fact that we could overcome any challenge together. Thank you all for your time.
If you don't know me, my name is Levi. So when I stayed in the small community of India in Ecuador, I was astonished by how differently they operate to what I'm used to. One of the biggest differences was how strongly people work together as a community. Instead of focusing on individual gain, people in India worked together and supported each other in everyday situations. Whether this be sharing food, resources, or helping each other out with small tasks, India could do it all. It wasn't just about being friendly and saying hello to people on the streets, but it was a way of life. People didn't think twice offering help or sharing within the community. Everyone played a role, whether it was just a young child or an elder person. One day, we were moving with the 3 generations of our homestay family, who would range between the ages of 14 and 64, and the next, we would help cook dinner with them. It made me realize how powerful it is to work as a community and see our success as something shared, not something personal. This journey had a big impact on me, and it showed me that it's not where you live, but it's how you live with others. It showed me that when we get caught up in our own independent work and life, we forget to realize how strong we are as a community. India showed me the importance of connection and caring for others, and I hope you continue growing with the skill and take it wherever it may go.
So now we'll talk about how our class was able to make friends with the local Ecuadorian kids while barely knowing how to talk or communicate with each other. In Uguia, our second homestay, we usually had about 2 or 3 hours of free time every afternoon. Most of this time was spent playing soccer with most of our class and the local kids in Uguia. We didn't really know how to talk to the kids or really anything else about them, but as soon as we decided teams and started playing, all of us were having fun together. After we were done playing soccer every day, we would walk back to our houses together, using our little communication skills to take turns talking about the funny stuff that happened to us that day and laughing about it all together. As we played for hours and hours every day, we found ourselves already making friends with each other, despite barely even knowing how to communicate with each other. If we had never decided to play soccer together to pass time in the afternoons, we would have never really spent any time together with any of the local kids, let alone been able to make friends with them. Sports are something that the world shares and uses to bring different cultures and nations together. Something that I will carry with me from our trip to Ecuador for the rest of my life is the ability to connect with people you don't know or understand very well through sports, games, or any other form of competition. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dee Gibson. However, in Ecuador, my name was Abejita, which means little bee in Spanish. Speaking Spanish is something I work on a lot whenever I can, so I was super excited to practice on the trip. I remember talking to our guide on the Quintana Crater, whose name is Humberto, and feeling super lucky to be able to share some of my life with him and learning about his life. I loved tackling the Otavallo market and learning new words along the way. Speaking Spanish in my homestay was one of the highlights of the trip. My homestay parents, Mama Gloria and Papa Antonio, weren't big talkers, but somehow almost every conversation at the dinner table ended with everyone laughing, either due to mispronounced words or just general confusion. We communicated so much with them, and I think that everybody in the homestay realized that we were all actually a lot better at Spanish than we thought. When we were in the homestay, the presidential election for Ecuador happened, and it was really interesting to be able to talk to our parents about who they were voting for and why. I hadn't had any idea who the candidates were, or even that there was an election, but I got to learn all about it. Learning about it was just really cool and immersive, but our family would share this with us. Speaking Spanish helps my experience a lot. I worked really hard in and out of school taking advanced Spanish classes, and I'd be lying if I said this. My hard work was rewarded. I hope after my speech it inspires people to start learning the language. Download Duolingo, whatever works for you. It was so worth it for me.
Hello, my name is Greta. Have you ever wondered what people eat in Ecuador? Well, I can tell you one thing, it's not fast food. During our community stay in Barochos, we ate with our host families. As we sat around the small table with their 5 homestay siblings, I looked at the large pile of food on my plate. Although it tasted amazing, this was way more than I'd normally eat at home. Yet when I looked up, most of the kids had already finished their meal. It felt embarrassing that I couldn't always finish mine, and it was hard to realize how much I wasted at home. I noticed I was doing something similar in our homestay in Uguia. As I finished my second bag of animal crackers, I had already filled a small trash bin in my room. My homestay parents, Mama Gloria and Papa Jose, used only one compost bin. At the end of each meal, they saved leftovers or gave them to their especially chunky dog named Zuko. The guinea pig bones were given to the neighbor's cat, and fruit peels were composted. We visited Papa Jose's garden one day. As I ripped thorny weeds out of the rich soil, I thought about how I got my fruits and vegetables at home. I normally pushed a shopping cart around. In Uguia, we did hard work in the dirt all morning so we could eat. I realized how the wasted food I used to never give a second thought about could have been someone's meal. When I think of Ecuador, I'll always remember the pride I felt to be a part of their culture. By the end of our trip, I was able to use only the white compost bin and will strive to waste less at home. Thank you.
I'm pleased to kick off the Patagonian GS speeches. I'm here to give you a little insight into where we went and the cadence of the trip. We began in Coyhaique, a town cradled by wind, mountains, and the quiet hum of Chilean life. 15 students, packed heavy with gear and hearts full of wonder, stepped into the wild ISN region where the trail was cold, the rain was sideways, and even our tents seemed to sigh beneath the weight of the weather. We huddled over stoves, inventing wild recipes with what little we had, lentils, laughter, and the occasional edible mystery. We learned glaciology in the freezing rain, spoke in whispers under a moon too bright, and shared stories that stitched us close together. From there, we wandered forward, out of the backcountry and into sleepy towns. We kayaked into the luminous belly of the marble caves, chased grocery store aisles like treasure hunts, and found joy in the quiet and unplanned evenings of knitting, reading, and pokering. In Santiago, we passed the reins. The students led, navigating metros, buses, and barrios, the pulse of the city beneath their feet. Patagonia gave us rain, ruin, and radiance, and in return, we left with stories that will echo long after the trail disappears. Today, we have the joy of sharing some of those stories.
Hello, students, friends, and families. I'm Jack, one of this year's teachers in residence, and the co-leader of the 10th grade GS trip to Chile. Okay, let's all start by taking a deep breath in through your nose. Hold for a few seconds, and out through your mouth. Thanks. In a minute, the 10th graders are going to tell you stories about our trip, about the skills they learned and the connections they made. Underneath all of it is the idea that we need to ditch our phones, get out of our own heads, be in the present. All of us, in our own ways, spent the trip trying to figure out how to be where we were instead of somewhere else. For some of us, like me, that was alone time, to breathe deeply and let anxiety subside. For others, it was hacky sacking, or photography, or backcountry cooking. Trying to do the here and the now, it's not an abdication of responsibility. It's hard work. Hard as the work these students do in the geography classroom or at Salt and Lime. Just ask the students about navigating the Santiago public transit system, or getting to camp soaked and cold, knowing you aren't getting dry today. Sure, there are times when we all checked out, living in easier worlds, when the stress of what comes next, and are we all getting along, and do people care about me is too much. But the stories you're going to hear are about the times when we stopped living so much in our own heads and lived more in the other 16 heads on the trip. Take one more deep breath through your nose. Hold it for a few seconds. And out through your mouth. Thank you.
My name is Evelyn, and I want to talk about storytelling. Storytelling is the way that I'll carry my global studies memories with me for the rest of my life. The way that I can share the joy I experience with others, and most importantly, the way I can remind myself of exact feelings and many learnings I gained in my time in Chile. My knowledge now expands from camping hacks like water bottles in a sleeping bag, cooking without ingredients, navigating Santiago's tricky subway stations, or even just appreciating where I am and what I'm doing, even on those frigid days. One of the first things I did when I got home from all my traveling was to give my parents an in-depth retelling of my trip, including pictures, following our route on Google Maps, and most importantly, reading quotes from my journal. One journal entry felt particularly important to me because it's the perfect story to describe the group dynamic. So I felt like I should share that story with all of you, so you might also feel the community that I got to be a part of. One of the best moments of the trip was this evening. A surprisingly good dinner for chicken and rice, to which I added mayonnaise. Everyone sat and listened to some of my favorite songs. We sang every lyric we knew as we played cards, crafts, and just generally messed around. A warm, full, and cozy environment. Not one person was left out. It really felt like our class fit so perfectly. It's crazy how much you can learn about and bond with people when you play a little music. It brings you all together. So I encourage you all to share some music and some time with those that you love most.
Hi, my name is Benji, and the water in Patagonia was very important to me. It made the experience a lot more memorable. My favorite part of the water in Patagonia was the waterfalls. The waterfalls are the first thing I tell people about Patagonia. After we trekked through the rain all day getting to Glacier Camp, we were tired. We all went to bed tired and wet, and the rain kept pouring all night. I woke up hearing rain and was not particularly excited after the day being so cold, but either way I had to get up, put on wet socks, shoes, and clothes, and make breakfast. When I stepped out of my tent, I was amazed to see hundreds of waterfalls rushing down the beautiful green mountains. A memory that will stick with me forever is while making breakfast, I could not keep my eyes off the waterfalls. I remember hearing a noise, but not looking down, and when I did, I saw my pot boiling over. This is only one of the moments that water meant so much to my trip. Another example is the river crossings. River crossings were the most dangerous part of our trek. Our guides took the river crossings very seriously because our main leader, John, said the number one reason backpackers die is falling into strong rivers. Overall, the water pushed me out of my comfort zone while leaving me with unforgettable memories.
I am stepping off a plane and we are driving in a car, surrounded by reminders that we are together, away from our lives, and it's just us. Now we move as one. The girl in my English class is now my best friend and a sister and my closest confidant. We share meals around stoves and stories around fires, and everything is here now. We go to sleep under wide open starry skies, and we wake under pink clouds and waterfalls that run clear. We laugh, we cry, we sleep, we eat, and we do everything together. I have never had friendships like when we are away, because everything is different when we are away. Small things become big, and big things become small, and we become present in a moment that we waited so long to experience. Present in a moment that we will never have again, the looming idea of home pushed further from our minds. My name is Zoe, and most of what I just read was written at the end of our trip when we were in Villa Cerro Castillo. The friendships I have made on GS are truly like no others and cannot be compared to anything. The people on my trips have been by my side through both my best and worst moments, and I am so grateful to have made memories and traveled the world with some of the most incredible people I've ever met. Now that we are home, things aren't the same, but Chile 2025 will never leave my mind, and after all, every moment with this amazing group of people is unforgettable.
Hi, my name is Julia, and I'm going to talk about how to do laundry in the backcountry. Throughout our trip, we hiked through mud, rivers, rain, and more. We hiked for many hours a day, which caused us to sweat and for our clothes to smell horrible. Of course, we did not have access to washing machines in the backcountry, so we had to get innovative on how we cleaned our clothes. One of our leaders, Jack, showed us a strategy on how to do laundry. He told us to use one of our plastic food bags to throw our dirty clothes in. He then put some river water into the bag, then put a couple drops of Dr. Bronner's in. The final step he taught us was to scrunch the bag up and to get the soap into all parts of our clothes. To keep the river clean, we dispersed the water into the grass far from the river to keep the river clean and to not harm the wildlife. We left our clothes out in the sun to dry, which surprisingly only took a couple of hours to dry. Me and Oscar Leopard washed our clothes together using this method, and it worked really well. I had a great time learning from Jack and washing my clothes with Oscar. Doing laundry in the backcountry taught me that a little soap goes a long way. It showed me that we can find ways to replace technology that we have been so accustomed to, even in the middle of nowhere, by using our minds and thinking outside the box. It also taught me to appreciate my laundry machine back home and how lucky I am to have these modern appliances. Thank you for listening.
Hello, my name is Stella. Throughout my entire life, I've always loved playing on playgrounds. Whether it's swinging as high as I can, or spinning super fast on the merry-go-rounds, or even just up and down on a seesaw, I've always wanted to spend my time in a playground. During my time in Chile, my love for playgrounds didn't change, it grew stronger. I managed to find almost every playground near me. Whether it was our first few days in Coyhaique or our last moments in Villa Cerro Castillo, if I spotted a playground, I would immediately go to it. At the beginning of the trip, we had a 6-hour bus ride to Puerto Bertrand. We all wanted to stretch our legs and explore. So,
After hauling our bags to our current campsite, that's exactly what we did. Everyone broke off into their own groups, and somehow all ended up at the same place, a playground up the road. We tried out the playground equipment, such as the exercise equipment that seemed to be in every playground around Chile, and eventually started playing tag. This intense game of tag wound up all the dogs around town. They all ran around us, making the game even more intense, because nobody wanted to get the dreaded hydatidosis. Everyone joining in together throughout the chaos of the dogs barking and everyone screaming and laughing made me feel somehow at ease in this strange place. For me, playgrounds were a time to revert back to childhood. They were a piece of my earlier days that I could take with me anywhere in the world. And a place where you were meeting new people, sleeping in different beds, and eating new foods, it was nice having something that felt so familiar. While others found that sense of home in music, food, or people, I found it in playgrounds. Finding that place that brings you memories and joy is just what I needed during strange and different times.
Hello, my name is Ecuador. I wanted to share an incredible experience I had during my trip to Patagonia, Chile. I frequently assisted my classmates and teachers by translating from Spanish to English. It was a great opportunity to use my native language to connect with people and serve as a bridge between two cultures. This experience demonstrated how powerful communication can be and how meaningful it is to help others understand what this other culture is like. I translated at the airport to assist Jack with our luggage issues. During the hike, we stayed at the ranch owned by Don Luis, who shared a story that I translated that 30 years ago, a great flood destroyed everything in the valley. Translating felt rewarding because I could bring something from my home and use it on the Patagonia trip. In a way, I was able to feel home even though I was in another country because the people were as kind as those back home. I hope that in the future, if we ever visit another Spanish-speaking country, I can help my friends translate for them again.
My name is Justine, and I want you to picture this. It's end of August. You're packing your entire life into boxes to move 1,000 miles away from everything you know, feeling everything all at once when you take off on that plane, leaving home. Nothing will be the same from here. You never thought you'd go to boarding school. You meet new people. You tell them your dog's names and that you like their shirt, and then they tell you how last year they spent an entire month together in another country dancing with strangers and playing soccer with kids and trekking in the jungle. Wow, that sounds unforgettable. All together, relying on each other. Then you wonder, if they're already all so close, how will I fit in? I don't have stories that start with, oh my gosh, remember when we did this? Dang, this will be harder than I thought. I miss home. You become friends with everyone eventually, and your trip comes around. And suddenly, you're in the middle of nowhere with people you now call family, hacky-sacking the majority of the day, and sleeping under millions of stars side by side. You stay up late sharing mate, lose a lot of pesos playing poker, and you laugh a lot. And you realize that sometimes home isn't 4 walls and a roof. It's the people that love you no matter the color of your eyebrows, or if you know how to tie your shoes right. It's the people that will sacrifice their last dry socks for you, and the people who you carry extra food for. It's the people that love you and know that it doesn't matter where you came from, or when you joined. It's where you go from there together and how you spend that time. It matters that you go new places, try new things, meet new people, and enjoy every second of it. Trust that there will be clarity and you'll feel at home soon enough. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Oscar. Throughout the trip, food became a challenge that helped me grow and appreciate the simple things. During the first 6 days of our journey, I was lucky enough to enjoy incredible backcountry meals consisting of pasta, red sauce, sausage, and sweet mango. By the time the next ration came, things changed. As Henry, Delia, and I stood there waiting excitedly for more delicious food, we realized that all the gluten-free food had been distributed. on the first ration. That meant that I'd be living off oatmeal and rice for the next 6 days. But I made the best of it. I got creative, mixing hot chocolate powder in to add some flavor together like oatmeal. I later learned that the hot chocolate powder contained milk, and since I'm dairy-free, it didn't agree with me. But even after that experience, it taught me how to be more mindful and adaptive. Thankfully, my luck turned around. Again, and I was treated to amazing snacks and traditional Chilean meals when we arrived in the front country. In the front country, food was still a bit scarce, but luckily, Jet Ezra and I stumbled upon some of the best burgers and steaks I've ever had. Even with dietary restrictions and a big appetite, I never went to bed hungry. Thank you to our amazing guide, Kat. Her delicious arepas became the nightly highlight. Not only did I learn how to make them, but sharing them helped me build stronger friendships and lasting memories.
Hi, my name is Delia. I want you to imagine going camping in the middle of nowhere, and this is what it looks like. Pretty amazing, right? Now imagine every other day it's pouring rain, no dry clothes, shoes are muddy and soaked, and there's no working lighter for anyone's stove. Well, this is what sums up our days in Chile. We hiked through rain and crossed rivers up to our waists, soaking every last one of our socks. We woke up to frost on our sleeping bags, tents, and rain jackets, and the occasional puddle soaking through our backpacks. Now you may be thinking, how could somebody possibly enjoy Chile when they're soaking wet and can't move? Well, the answer is simple. Rain is supposed to make you wet. I had this realization one night when everyone was miserable and crying, trying to curl up in their tents, along with trying to cook dinner. Lucky me, it was my night to cook. But when I walked up to Ezra, who was cooking with me, he had the biggest smile on his face. It took me by surprise. I asked him why he was so happy, and he responded, "Well, I don't understand why everyone's so upset. I mean, it's rain. It's supposed to make you wet." Weirdly, I had never thought about that until that night. Rain makes you wet, and there's nothing you can do about it. People always tell me not to get worked up over things I can't control, so why was everyone getting upset with the rain? The next few rainy days were some of the best nights at camp. Me and Justine were running and jumping around camp, spinning off every rock in sight until we would fall into a bush and then proceeded to get in trouble. Best time ever. There was nothing we could do about the rain, but we could definitely change the way we responded to it, and that's exactly what we did.
Hi, my name is Henry. From my time in Chile, I learned that you can connect with people even if you don't speak the same language. In my interactions with people that lived on a horseback riding ranch that we visited close to our departure, I felt like I was able to connect with them on a deeper level, even though we both couldn't talk to each other. Food is a key way to connect people and is a main way that we bond. During our day at their ranch, I learned tons about who Chileans are and their flourishing culture they hold. We had our celebration meal at this ranch. We were served an asado, which is a traditional Patagonian meal made from slow roasted lamb and many other compelling sides in a self-serve buffet. When we
Delia.
When we weren't horseback riding, we were able to keep this lamb slow cooked on an open wood fire. We learned that from our guides that the meat is cooked like that to make it as tender as possible, so they could cook all day. While we ate, we talked together about the amazing trip we just experienced, while one of our guides translated for the woman who made us the food, telling us we should keep eating and that we are the group that she seemed to eat the least amount. This compelled us of ourselves to get more of the delicious food. With this amazing experience and the end of a phenomenal trip, I was amazed from where we were and what we had done. Through the entire trip, I felt the closest steamboat was always there because the landscape looked super similar and exactly the same as it looks here. But at the end, after indulging in cultural foods, My eyes and mind were open to this opportunity and this moment that was special and important to all of us.
We're working on it. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Miyato. In a world that moves so fast, we often forget to pause. But during a school trip to Chile, surrounded by mountains and silence, I'm struck how slowing down can help us reconnect with nature and with ourselves. There was no Wi-Fi, no phone, no city noise, just raw nature, towering mountains, cool wind blowing through our tents, and the sound of footsteps on gravel. At first, I felt a bit lost. No social media, no place, just silence. But slowly, I began to feel life slow down. I watched the sunrise, listened to the wind, and had real conversation with friends, without screens in the world. The highs were hard, but they helped me connect, not just with nature, but with myself. Without the constant distraction in my world, I started to notice the small things. Laughter around the campfire, the peaceful quiet under the stars, and the freedom of being surrounded by open skies. In that oneness, I learned to slow down, not through phone notification, but through quiet moments, challenge, and being truly present. She taught me that sometimes slowing down is the way to live more deeply. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Oscar. Last year on GS I made the mistake of not bringing a camera. This year I went in the opposite direction and brought a full DSLR. Before the trip, I didn't delve much into photography or even how to work the camera. At first, it was difficult, and mostly I used the automatic picture set. But as time went by, I got more and more interested and learned to take pictures properly. Mostly in the manual mode, meaning I control most, if not all, of the camera functions. At first, the pictures did not turn out the way I wanted, but taking pictures takes effort. And as I focused in on my environment and looked at what was around me, I noticed how you can change settings and how the lighting might prevent you from taking a picture and what settings you could use to change and get desired results. In general, you just have to absorb the environment more deeply to get the picture or result you want, which makes you live in the moment more and better observe what is around you and pay closer attention to your environment. Look for the best angle to look at something or how you might capture the feeling of a place with a single frame. Even after the picture, you might still better remember the moment. After focusing in and remembering all the intricate things that might have had to happen to take the photo. After, you may even feel a sense of accomplishment, which, once again, brings you back to think of that moment and what you might have achieved. In general, the better I got at taking pictures, the more I remembered or thought about where I was. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ezra. Alright. Happy Sacking, a simple game where a group of people stand in a circle and kick a sack filled with sand back and forth, only using their feet and not their hands. This game is not traditionally found in Chile, but me and Benji brought our own sacks from Colorado. We shared the game with as many people as we could. This includes our guides, Zach and Heather. and everyone else around me. It became more than just a game. It was a way to pass times when things may have been hard, a way to keep warm when the rain would not stop pouring down and making us so cold. This game strengthened connections with kids I had already known for years. One of my fondest memories from the trip is the first day of the trek when we started out and it was already raining. We had walked a couple miles and we were going to take a break, and I was already very cold. But one of the leaders, Zach, asked if I wanted to sack, and I said yes, knowing I was already extremely tired. But just sacking made me warm and had enough energy to finish the day. I felt like friendship was extremely important. I'm very lucky I could share this all together. The friendship I made on this trip was like nothing I had ever felt before. And we all got a lot better stacking in different places, and I'm very fortunate we could share it all together. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Eliza. This trip was something I can't even explain in words, but I'll try. Chile might be the most beautiful place I've ever been. Its amazing Patagonia mountains, clear blue lakes and rivers, and people we met along the way made this trip the best I've been on. Not only was this trip special because of the views, but the people were a key part as well. One idea that was told to us over and over was to push ourselves out of our own comfort zone, so that is just what we did. For me, it was amazing to do some things that I've never done before, like walking through glacier runoff and learning how to make these rainy days more exciting games. As I was pushing myself, I could see the others around me doing the same. During our trip, I learned that everyone's comfort zone is different. Many push themselves through translating, getting creative with their backcountry cooking and baking, even if it didn't turn out all the way we wanted it to. Staying positive through the cold and rainy days, learning to do laundry in the backcountry, and so much more. Being in Chile with friends that support you when you want to try something new and might even tag along is what GS means to me. The friendships and connections that are built on these types of trips are the bonds that only the people that went on the trip with you share. Not even this speech can sum up the way I felt on this trip. Chile was an amazing experience, and I absolutely loved every part, even when I was pushed to do something I didn't want to. I learned that we can laugh together, cry together, and get through tough things together because we are family. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jet. And during my time in Patagonia, we had a surprising amount of free time. We hiked, we cooked, we explored towns we stayed in, we talked to our friends, read books, played poker, and did it. I did all these activities, but three in particular taught me the art of patience. On day one of our backpacking, it was pouring rain, and we had been hiking for hours when the owner of Patagonia Frontiers, John, told us to take off our backpacks. He walked us about 200 feet away and told us to climb over a big dead tree. Keep in mind, we were wading through 6 inches of water. Half of us climbed over when he said, "Look at this tree. How did it get here?" My patience was running very low. I pushed past and hiked another 2 hours completely waterlogged. I started the front country portion of the trip by learning how to play poker. Within my first few games, I began to get a feel for it. I started with about $1 in Chilean coins. I slowly learned the strategy and started to win more money. I learned to keep cool and not rush people, and I learned to sit in silence and observe the people around me. For those of you who knit, you know the stress and anger that 2 sticks and a stool of yarn can bring. I learned to knit in elementary and middle school, but I had completely forgotten until my classmate Eliza retaught me. I had to relive the experience of losing a stitch or tangling the yarn all over again. I learned that patience also means that it's okay to take breaks. When all else fails, rest a while and come back to it later, a skill I'm not good at. In the moments when I was so enraged, all I wanted to do was punch a wall, I would step away. I learned the patience of waiting, dropping something until it's the right time to continue. And today, I use the skill of patience to sit through everyone's GS presentations. Sitting through the stress and feeling all the nerves of public speaking. Thank you.
don't really have any words to say other than we need to close this down. And there's a lot of folks in the aisles. But let's give a round of applause.